global climate talks in Azerbaijan appear to be on the verge of collapse, with representatives from developing countries walking out of a meeting. The summit had been due to wrap up, but went into overtime as negotiators from nearly 200 countries tried to reach an agreement on a climate funding plan for the next decade.
Wealthy countries had reportedly agreed to raise their funding offer to more than $450 billion by 2035. But poorer nations say that still falls far short of what's needed. Joining us now is Mona Mashhadi Rajabi, a researcher at the UTS Centre for Climate Risk and Resilience. Thank you so much for joining us. Mona, just tell us a bit more about this main sticking point between wealthier nations and poorer countries about how much is paid to this climate funding plan.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. Actually, developing countries was expected to receive 1.3 billion trillion US dollars from this summit, because the economic studies has shown that they need 2.3 trillion US dollars to combat climate change annually, and they were expecting to fund $1 trillion by themselves and receive $1.3 trillion through the fundings from the summit and developing countries. At the moment, the developed countries has agreed to pay $300 billion to developing countries, while they are it is far below what they were expecting to receive, and it is they mentioned that it is not enough to meet their climate needs, combat climate change, and invest in the transition to net zero and reducing their dependence on fossil fuels. So at the moment, they have not reached any agreement, although we know that the commitment that developed countries has made has increased. They were paying $100 billion annually, and now they are committed to pay 300 billion US dollars, which is equivalent to 450 Australian dollars annually. And still they think it is far below what they need, given that the problem is caused by developed countries through their multiple investments and production of fossil fuels, and while they are the consequences of climate change and the problems through the extreme weathers are mainly felt by poorer countries.
So Mona, with the representatives from poorer countries walking out, what does that mean for any agreement? Because I understand there needs to be a certain number of countries represented for a decision to then be made.
Actually, they mentioned that it is a sign of dissatisfaction, not moving out of the negotiations and protesting against the summit. So it is expected that the negotiations will continue up to they reach some kind of agreement. I'm not sure that they will be able to reach to the point that the developing countries are actually needing right now, but it is expected that they reach some kind of agreement. At the moment, I've seen in the news that they are expecting to increase the amount of commitment that developed countries are made to 390 billion US dollars. I'm not sure if they will reach to that point, but they mentioned that it is a sign of dissatisfaction from what is going on in the negotiations.
It is common for these talks to run slightly over, but this is running further over than it usually does. How much longer do you think this summit will go for, given the impasse over these commitments?
It is expected to finish this tonight, but actually this is a very important topic that they are trying to deal with, because finance issues is something that all the countries should be considered during the transition. And we know that developing countries cannot have enough fund to meet their targets and reduce their carbon footprint on the earth. So it is a very important and significant discussions that they are making in the summit, and the impact of these agreements will be felt in the future, because we know that without having proper financing options on the table, we cannot reach climate goals. And because of that, we expect that some kind of agreement will be made, but we are not sure that up to what point developed countries will come up and developing countries will agree to move on with that money. At the moment, it is far below what they were expecting.
Just finally, what role does Australia play in these talks, and how might the outcome from the summit impact Australia?
Australia was playing a leading role, in the negotiations, because Australia has been investing significantly in renewable energies, and right now we can say that we have been growing their investment in renewable energies, and we are in a good place as far as our investments can be seen. And so Australia has played a leading role by talking about how they can transit from fossil fuels domestically to renewable energies. In this stance, Australia was playing a leading role, and also Australia was among the countries that were playing its leading role in negotiations about the climate finance, and Australia has committed to to pay additional $50 million to developing countries to cover the loss of climate change. Actually, at the moment when United States has chosen Trump to be the next president in the country, and we know that the new administration will be, it is likely to be opposed to any other climate finance commitments in the future. So Australia, I think, is in a good place to attract more investment in renewable energies in the future, because it is expected that the new investment in renewable energies will not happen in United States in the next few months, in the next few years, at least during the Trump's presidency. So Australia can play a great role in leading the work toward renewable energies and attracting more investment in this area in the near future, at least in the next 4 years.
All right, Mona Mashhadi Rajabi from the UTS Centre for Climate Risk and Resilience, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.